Want to boldly explore the universe? Try out Brilliant today. Brilliant's interactive examples and active problem solving help you develop your intuition in mathematics, science, and computer science, that you may live long and prosper. Visit brilliant.org/ACL for 20% off the annual premium subscription.
Manifested yourself into a human I can depend on to bring me happy. Thank you, happy.
Welcome to A Captain's Log, the Star Trek talk show set to bring you through a wondrous, artificially endowed list of life forms consisting of our best or weakest androids, poised with positronic smarts, some with, some without.
And with you, Ambassador to the fans, Bryan, is the human co-host science officer, Lieutenant Commander Lili Fox Lim, who works with Ensign Fulbrook in our science department when she's not in your quarters co-hosting this Star Trek talk show.
Just a slight overkill on your introduction there, Rogg, but thank you. Hi, Bryan. As an ambassador to the fans, you'll get to share some really interesting anecdotes and intelligence reports as to why androids like Rogg, and some not like Rogg, are our best or weakest this week. As always, I want to give my in-depth analysis on the list of androids as well.
No doubt about it, Lils. Star Trek fans since nearly the beginning have seen Roger Korby, Star Trek's first on-screen android. He seems kind of put together on the surface and fearfully and wonderfully made, but on the inside, the gears, synaptic infusion, and synergies that make those Exo III androids tick differ widely from the Noonian Soong-like creatures.
Yes. And there's an interesting three-part story arc in Star Trek Enterprise. Dr. Arik Soong, the father of Dr. Noonian Soong, the brilliant doctor of genetics in the 22nd century, embarks on studies of artificial life. Definitely one of yours and my favorite set of Enterprise episodes. This three-parter shows Arik Soong drawing up schematics and the beginnings of what would eventually lead to his son Noonian creating Data, Lore, and B4, and then grandson Alton Inigo Soong carrying on the Soong-type android work in Star Trek Picard.
Yes, there's a richly developed history of Soong-style androids across many series in Star Trek. I'm glad you mentioned that three-part story arc in Enterprise, Lili. Viewers, be sure to catch those episodes. The episode titles are on the screen, with the first one titled Borderland. Next one was Cold Station 12, and then the third part is the Augments.
Yes, and those are not your typical part 1, 2, and 3 episode titles, so it's a good point to share them sequentially.
That's right.
Based upon Sir Isaac Asimov's dream of a positronic brain, Dr. Arik and Noonian Soong would be known from the Federation to be too overly experimental. But Starfleet would eventually reap the benefits of the services of Mr. Data after being discovered by the USS EEE landing party. Data would of course eventually join Starfleet as a highly decorated officer and loyal friend to Picard, Geordi LaForge.
And not Frog. We don't need the full list of Data's friends and loyal confidants on where his off switch is located, you little tin man.
What? No. Sorry, Lili, but I have more android robotics information.
We'll get back to our androids on our 5 best or 5 weakest list in just a moment. Now we have some news about the new Star Trek Lower Deck Season 2, particularly in the Easter eggs. In the Season 2 premiere, we saw my favorite character, Ensign Beckett Mariner's holodeck fanatical firing frenzy of phasers on that Miranda-class starship. It was decked out, Lili, in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan interior bridge. If that wasn't enough Easter eggs, the name of Mariner's ship was straight out of Star Trek The Next Generation. It was called the Macduff, the USS Macduff. Now, it's a fictional ship because she's in the holodeck, right? But the episode, if you remember, was in the 5th season called Conundrum, when the whole bridge crew lost their memory, and this guy named Macduff poses as Picard's number 1, the first officer.
Oh yeah, I'm on board. This ship name is writer Mike McMahon's Easter egg that everything during her holodeck adventure is fake, seen in the very opening scene of the Lower Decks season premiere.
I love how Star Trek right now is paying homage to previous series before them. Now, unfortunately, Star Trek squandered an opportunity by shelving the enormous entity of Star Trek from franchise fatigue in the mid-2000s up until about 2017 for kids and teens to fall in love with Star Trek the same way that we did. Now, Trek has an opportunity right now to change that with the new Nickelodeon and Paramount Plus series.
Yes, it was definitely a missed opportunity. I'm so glad we now have multiple series anyone can catch, particularly Star Trek Lower Decks, which is airing new episodes every Thursday on Paramount Plus. They're going to release one episode every week through mid-October, so get on it!
That's right. Here on A Captain's Log, we've set a course for an important discussion about the 5 best and 5 weakest androids.
Yep, that's right. The ambassador to the fans and I created a list of these artificial androids.
You guys, you made a list of the best androids? I know I'm going to be number 1 on the list.
Rog, you're not on the list.
What? Why not?
Well, for starters, you were never on Star Trek. You're not canon. You're an android animation on this talk show based on a Next Generation style child of Dr. Roger Korby, as if that story had been expanded.
As it should be. I love that episode. Oh well, on the list.
But you're the number 1 android in mine and the ambassador's hearts.
Really?
Yes, Rog, you are. Now let's start the list. Best or weakest androids are top 5.
Should they get a lease on life? How about an artificial look back?
Yes, it certainly is an artificial look for these androids, and a look back at them is how we will get started on our list. Now, we're not going to go too far back on our 5th best android. In fact, many Star Trek fans may disagree with this one. To me, it's more of a Data-like dynamic demonstration in the way of actress Issa Briones, showing her versatility and connection with Data. Now, Briones in that yellow skin and contact lenses gets me thinking that Sutra is more like a Next Generation style character in Star Trek Picard. So, along with Alton Soong, which Lili just mentioned, Data's human brother, she begins to devise a plan for survival.
Yes, what better way to counterattack the ban on synthetic life put forth by the Federation and a Romulan group than to devise a plan for synthetic survival? Check out this 1-minute deleted scene from Star Trek Picard with Sutra and Alton Soong setting up later scenes that we've already seen.
At this rate, we won't be able to produce more than 24 organs. The Romulans will crush us.
This is hopeless, you know that. So then you also know we have no choice.
It's us or them, Alton.
There's only one viable course. I accept that.
Even though it means you will die.
Every great evolutionary leap is triggered by catastrophe. Somebody has to be the dinosaur. Naturally, I'd prefer to continue to exist.
You have an idea.
Yes. What I may need is a little help.
Now, we have an android in Sutra that can mind meld from the Vulcan culture. She performed one on Agnes Jurati to gain coded information about a group of Romulan rebel anti-synthetic life forms in a movement called the Zhat Vash at the admonition in the 2380s. Now, this was 19 years earlier than what was shown in Star Trek Picard. Now, Lili, Sutra killed her fellow android sister named Saga by stabbing her through the eye to make it a point of survival, for synthetic survival, in a way of staging that it was Romulan Narek who had actually broke out and killed Saga. Now, when Dr. Alton Soong discovered Sutra's deceptive nature and murder, he deactivated her. However, like Lore, the evil twin brother of Data who was deactivated, I hope to see Sutra reactivated as an evil side and kind of an alter ego of a trustworthy type of android throughout Paramount Plus' series Star Trek Picard.
Poor synthetic sister. Issa Briones, who also played Sutra's synthetic sister Soji and the also dead twin android Dodge, finally gets to showcase her versatile acting abilities as her android sisters. We hope that in Picard Season 2 we learn what Sutra's twin Jana and beautiful Flower were doing on Rios' Starfleet ship, the Bin Majid. Sutra is alive and not well deactivated, as you said, Brian.
We have another award-winning actress who played Data's android mother, formerly a human, Juliana Tainer, played by Fionnuala Flanagan. Now, she was quite a remarkable android. Tainer, who actually was a geologist, assisted Noonian Soong in his work on artificial life forms and helped create the android Data, as well as his 4 predecessors, including Lore, B4, and there was 2 other prototypes that we never saw. Even though that was a human version of Juliana, her memories using a synaptic scanning technique retained practically all of her mind when transferring to her android body. Sounds similar to Roger's situation. Now, Juliana viewed each of Soong's androids as akin to a child after Lore's personality problems forced his deactivation. Juliana was responsible for giving Data the capability to learn to play music, as we saw throughout the Next Generation episodes, and also to paint as an artist.
Let's go back to android Juliana's beginning. When Dr. Noonian Soong activated her, he recalled that she looked up at him and smiled. She recognized him at only 2 minutes old, and as far as she knew, Soong was her husband. Juliana had advanced skin with the appearance of veins, capillaries, tear ducts, and sweat glands. Soong also included a feedback processor that sent out a false biosignal, self-adjusting to mimic human aging. Quite the remarkable 24th century android.
Our next android appeared on medical scans as Soji, and believed that she was completely human on those medical scans. Now, Dr. Soji Asha was a female android and twin of Dodge Asha. The android twins were created entirely from a single positronic neuron, in this case from the late Lieutenant Commander Data.
Soji is a resilient android also good for protecting synthetic life. She commenced construction of the beacon meant to signal the synthetic life forms in another dimension. While constructing the beacon, Soji was momentarily distracted by Narek, who had returned. She caught a molecular solvent grenade designed to destroy the beacon and threw the grenade away. She later was convinced by Picard to stand down from the beacon's construction and willingly destroyed it. Later, she helped finish a golem and transferred the consciousness of Picard to the new body.
Oh, great. We got one twin android accused of wanting to end all organic life, and another who couldn't understand life, then was murdered in front of Picard at Starfleet Academy.
Soji is a kind and gentle android who has a hard time trusting until she met Admiral Picard.
In a matter of minutes, your ship is overtaken by speed and agility from the crystalline entity, teamed up with an evil android named Lore. This is Data's terrifying brother who also collaborated with the Borg. While this character lived out a life in which he believed that being an android made him superior to humans, starting with the colonists of Omicron Theta, where he was born at the hands of Dr. Noonian Soong.
No truly single android existed with a more complex positronic brain and emotional programming than that of Lore. He was nasty. Yes, Data's brother was a formidable revenge-seeking intelligent android, although Lore's emotional programming was very advanced. Now, he began displaying signs of emotional instability and malevolence. I also have to say, I bet the way that Lore was deactivated in the final season premiere of Star Trek The Next Generation at the hands of his own brother Data will at some point become a mentioned milestone in Star Trek Picard. Perhaps Sutra or one of the other evil androids will find him and reactivate him. Now, if you think you've seen the last of Data's brother, or even Data in that yellow skin and contact lenses, I wouldn't count on it. Lore is still out there waiting to have his switch turned back on.
Oh, yes. Remember back in Next Gen, they referenced how Lore drifted in space for nearly 2 years until he was rescued by a passing Pac-led trade ship. We saw an emotionally charged Brent Spiner stealing Data's uniform and masquerading as Data. Lore's last words were, "I love you, brother." Lore was subsequently dismantled, but for how long? You don't just leave a gold mine, gold skin character with that kind of magnitude in pieces. This is Star Trek, ever enduring and always with us longer than any other franchise. I want to see Lore back. He is our #2 best android.
Simply the best, okay? Anyone can hope for is an episode with evil versus good, Data versus Lore, right? Brent Spiner reprises his role in Star Trek Picard, opening the series' very first scene playing cards in 10 forward on the Enterprise D, as Picard remembers he doesn't want the dream to end.
Absolutely.
A captain's log returns in a moment.
Welcome back to A Captain's Log. As the April 1989 official Star Trek The Next Generation magazine from Starlog Press perfectly published in its early issue #6, the front page states this of our #1 best android, Lieutenant Data, the world's greatest detective, Starfleet officer, or both. No single android was as great as Star Trek The Next Generation's Lieutenant Commander Data, played by actor Brent Spiner. In his endeavors to become more human and understand humanity, we saw him grow throughout the series as a kind android with strength beyond human levels. Data was the first and only such being to ever enter Starfleet.
Yeah, Data was built with an ultimate storage capacity of 800 quadrillion bits and a total linear computational speed rated at 60 trillion operations per second. Now, Data smarts and opposite emotional characterizations were made to be similar to that of an android that possessed computational speeds at virtually instantaneous levels. Data's physical and mental capabilities were far superior to that of virtually any organic or cybernetic humanoid, including Klingons, humans, and even Borg drones. Emotionally, however, where Spock often believed himself to be superior to humans, Data aspired to be more human with his existence. Spock noted that Data's complete lack of emotion and superior physical capabilities were qualities to which Vulcans aspired, but Data wished to be more human.
Data even had 2 romances, one with the ill-fated Tasha Yar and another with Jenna Desora. Data discovered that in romance, the logical course is not always the most appropriate. Data was abducted by a Borg drone in the second next-gen movie, Star Trek First Contact. Unable to assimilate the android, the Borg Queen attempted to bribe Data into subservience by offering him live flesh instead of his polymer. Data felt what it was like to have flesh and feeling within it for that short time, so there you have it. Data is the #1 best android. Hope to see more of him, even though he's offline. Maybe just a flashback or two. John Delancey did spill a spoiler that we may see Data in Season 2 of Star Trek Picard.
Can't wait to see that.
Data was created sometime in the 2330s and was killed in 2379, sacrificing himself to save the crew of the USS Enterprise E in the final next-gen film, Star Trek Nemesis.
So Data died for a life form he didn't quite understand. And another android that didn't understand why she was built on your best androids list?
Raj, why so much hostility?
Yeah, Raj, what's with the mean-spirited comments?
I just want to be on the list as well. Planet Exo III was the formerly inhabited 3rd planet of its star system and home to my human parents. Well, in canon, Dr. Roger Korby and Andrea after they became androids. Shortly before 2261, my father, who programmed me with his human memories, led an expedition to Exo III, where he was badly injured by exposure to the planet's bitter cold. He lived long enough to discover an ancient android civilization there. That to me has to be noteworthy on the androids list.
It's a-comin', Raj. Don't you worry your little chrome dome-contained brain inside there. Let's get to our brief list of the 5 weakest androids.
That's right, Lily. Number 5 on our weakest androids list is the android Norman, played by Richard J. Tatro in the Star Trek original series episode, I, Mud. He was supposed to be a leader of sorts, posing as a Starfleet Science Division officer lieutenant, miraculously boarded Kirk's Enterprise. To keep his android nature from being discovered, he skipped 2 appointments that Dr. Leonard Bones McCoy made for his physical without giving a reason, something which McCoy found suspicious.
Then Captain Kirk and Spock correctly hypothesized that the android population was essentially a hive mind and that Norman was the central control locus. The androids were deactivated when Norman's processors were unable to compute emotional queries. Norman became unable to function when confused by illogical acts, causing him and the rest of the androids on Mud's planet to shut down.
I love that episode. Even though Norman was weak, number 4 for weakest androids is Data's daughter, Lal, one of the single greatest episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation titled The Offspring. Now, Data has to fight for his daughter's safety and the right to care for her when Admiral Halftel boards the Enterprise to take possession of her.
Lal was a Soong-type android constructed by Data in 2366 on the USS Enterprise D. She exceeded Data's capabilities in several ways, notably by being able to complete more than 60 trillion calculations per second. Originally genderless and possessing a very basic humanoid appearance, Lal was allowed to choose a gender and a personal appearance in the holodeck first. Deanna Troi reminded Lal that Lal's choice would affect how people interacted with the android. Data wished for Lal to learn about being human, and per Wesley Crusher's suggestion, enrolled her in the ship's school.
As for Lal's weakness, well, upon running diagnostics, Data identified the problem with Lal was a symptom of cascade failure in her neural net. As Lal was dying, she expressed her love for her father and thanked him for creating her.
So sweet. From a Star Trek Voyager B'Elanna Torres episode titled Prototype, our number 3 weakest android is Automated Personnel Unit 3947, who really didn't serve a purpose except to fight a war for their creators. The unit was made of a distinct silver metal body with an indistinct humanoid form and was polite and gracious to Lieutenant Torres and full of praise for her skill set and talents. Torres found the unit to be sentient, and Automated Unit 3947 communicated with her in a male voice. The unit then beamed Torres aboard one of its sister ships. He wanted Torres to build a module that could be used to build more androids like himself.
That's right, Lily. And as Torres and Unit 3947 worked early on in the episode, they talked about the unit's creators and exchanged information about her own culture. 3947 was particularly fascinated to learn about Data, a machine like himself who was treated as an equal to the builders. However, another ship with similar units appeared and fired on the Prelor's starship, revealing the truth about the conflict between the two sides.
Another good Voyager episode. I bet you watched that one on UPN. Back in the day, didn't you, Brian?
Absolutely, United Paramount Network, right? I did the broadcast TV thing on the local St. Louis affiliate using aluminum foil on the antennas to get a better signal. But I did watch that episode, on UPN.
How primitive of a way to watch your favorite show in the late 20th century.
Yes, thank you, Rog. We have only 2 more weakest androids on our list, and so we're on a TV show here, so not now, you little tin man. Don't worry, you don't look like a tin android though, like the automated unit from Voyager. Anyways, number 2 for the weakest is Dr. Roger Korby, a human scientist who transferred his consciousness into an android after his body froze to death on planet Exo III.
Don't forget about...
Thanks, Rog. We know you already chimed in about Dr. Korby, and you're wearing the same clothes he does. We are running short on time here. We'll talk to you in just a moment. That sets up our last segment nicely for much later in the show after we reveal our number 1 weakest android.
Our number 1 weakest is Reyna Capek. She was basically android arm candy who short-circuited when her creator and Captain Kirk were fighting over her. When cast for this episode, actress Louise Sorel, a theater actress, did not take Star Trek all that seriously. She said, quote, "They put me in this funny costume. I stood still and they just wrapped fabric around me." Overall, however, Sorel remembered the episode as really very sweet. "I loved working with Shatner," she said. The episode is from the heavily cut budget season 3 of Star Trek, the original series, titled Requiem for Methuselah.
I like that episode. Now, Reyna Capek was an android built by Flint, who was an immortal who wandered the Earth in various persona. Now, Flint introduced Reyna as his legal aid. Now, later in Flint's lab, it was discovered that there were multiple back closet prototypes of Reyna labeled by number. Despite Flint's intent to keep Reyna's android creation a secret, Reyna enters the lab room and learns the truth, forcing Flint to release the Enterprise.
A captain's log returns in a moment.
Captain's log. Stardate 56847.9. Somewhere in the wings of sleep, static, and a woman's voice came over my comm. Trouble? Maybe. Starfleet's thoughts? Find her. But how can I? 2 days ago, due to Exo III's frigid temps, I'd sit down the android and our assistant science specialist Fallbrook for a less than 5-minute away team confirmation of conditions and entry points to the underground ruins. Even though we set beam down coordinates pinpointed to that of Captain Kirk's many years ago, there's no sensors that can penetrate past the issues even previous expeditions experienced, which failed to find Dr. Korby's crew there until the Enterprise finally did. Now, storm raging below, Rogg and Fallbrook's gone radio silent. I've never left crew behind, but Starfleet gave the go. So, find a woman possibly dead or long gone, or ignore orders, and find our Fallbrook and Tin Can Man Rogg on Exo III.
The captain planned on beaming Fallbrook and I down to Exo III's surface for what he calls a look-see. I have flashes of faint bursts of memories, but something's odd. My memory banks remain dark. I remember finding this phaser in the snow recently after we found the entry point into what would be our home in the caverns below the surface. Dad, Mom, and I, now android. I picked up the phaser with a slick, feelingless arm with no skin. I'm remembering more. I remember losing my arm in the caverns of Exo III. This was It's Over. My father, Dr. Roger Korby's last words when I was barely alive as a human on the android duplicator. I'm heading to the holodeck to try and understand my emotional experience. Computer, start my program.
It is more probable that you need my advice than I not to count.
I'm having human emotions about sympathizing with the novelty from Exo III when I found their phaser on the surface of Exo III during our landing party. If anyone on board found out, I'd be fired. Worse, deactivated.
Hello, happy, my old friend. I'm glad you've manifested yourself into a human I can depend on to bring me happy.